Star Wars Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. This is the middle film in the original trilogy, and it is pretty awesome. It's the story of Luke's training to become a Jedi further with the Force ghosts of Obi-Wan and Yoda on the swamps of Dagobah, the Rebel Alliance being attacked constantly by the Empire chasing them down.
Yeah, the rebels are on the run almost all film. They're scattered. It kind of seems like all hope is lost. And what can they do to beat the Empire in this one?
Yeah, they really do. They're a whole movie. They're running around trying to escape them. The Rebel Alliance is a lot smaller, so they've got to be very creative to get the Empire off their heels. So let's get into what worked in The Empire Strikes Back. So for me, the very cool planet of Hoth, where Darth Vader is talking to one of his admirals, and he's like, yeah, we found something, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like much. He's like, nope, the rebels are there. That's where they are. And he's like, sir, there are so many uncharted settlements. He's like, I'm done with you. That's where they are. Get your guys down there. And unfortunately, he comes on hyperspace too soon, and he gets force choked for that. And Admiral Piet gets the job after that. Very cool scene seeing Vader commanding the Empire's military, I guess you would call it. And it's cool to see the planet of Hoth, the snowy planet where Luke is out there and he has to fight the big snow monster, the Yeti. Once he gets trapped, and then Han has to go save him. Han has to cut open the Tauntaun to keep Luke warm, and it smells real bad. I love the whole Hoth scene when the walkers come on screen. I can only imagine back in the 80s when this came out, seeing those things on the big screen for the first time. It was probably so epic. To me, it's still epic to this day, even though it's kind of slow because of the technology of the time. But man, they are menacing, super cool. And then you get to see the rebels go and attack them. They can't penetrate the shield, so they have to use those ropes to go around. Very cool attack sequence. Absolutely love the Battle of Hoth. Very good part of this movie. Look forward to it every time. You get to see the bounty hunters that are hired to capture Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon, and then they get chased to the asteroid field. Also another awesome sequence. The TIE fighters are chasing them. They end up going into that cave, and it ends up not being a cave. It ends up being the stomach of a very large space serpent. Very interesting monster. Very cool scene there too. You get the romance, like the sarcastic back and forth with Leia and Han. You get the droids, R2 and C-3PO, and C-3PO's always got little witty comebacks. That's another what worked for me. Really enjoyed Luke's training on Dagobah. And one of the funniest moments is Yoda just prodding and poking at all of Luke's stuff, and R2's trying to shock him. He's making all the crazy noises. That was good. Cloud City is really cool. You meet Lando Calrissian in here, and you find out that the Millennium Falcon was his ship before, and Han won it in a gambling debt or something from Lando. Very cool. You get to see Boba's ship for the first time in the series. Very cool ship. Yeah, there's a lot of what works for me in this film. It's very cool. And then obviously you get the epic finale of the film. You get Luke and Vader's clash for the first time. Very cool scene. And that's what worked for me.
Those are all really good things that worked. I picked almost all the same things.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just briefly go over how I felt about each of those too. A few things that really worked for me was Luke training with Yoda. That was cool to see. You see him kind of develop from kind of an immature, real eager and headstrong young teenager. He's starting to mature. You know, he's still not there yet. And even Yoda says, you know, I can't teach him. He's not ready yet. He has no patience. But you see that he's willing to try, and he starts to calm down a little bit. So that worked for me. Han and Leia, and I'm looking at you, Attack of the Clones. This is how you do a love story without it being boring or cringy.
Better.
Much better. And it felt real. They were bickering. You know, Han's real pushy. You know, he's got that strong kind of alpha male energy. He's real pushy. That bickering back and forth and the tension between them turned into a genuine, you know, love and trust. It felt real. It felt real.
You can tell they care for each other. It feels good. Yeah.
It was natural feeling, and there wasn't a ton of, lovey-dovey stuff. It wasn't drawn out and boring. That worked for me. That's how you do a love story in a Star Wars.
Yeah, like even when he's being frozen in carbonite and they're looking at each other lovingly, and she's like, I love you. And he's just like, I know.
I know.
I'm going to go get frozen now.
Yeah, it's such a Han line.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I couldn't imagine him saying anything else there, so... So you see several big chases in this, and they all worked. You have the rebels fleeing Hoth, and then you have the asteroid and ended up in the debacle with the space worm. So it really made the universe feel big. You have these chase scenes in different, areas. And finally, Darth Vader gets more screen time in this film, and you get to see sort of the inner workings of him being sort of a military commander. I'm not sure exactly what his rank is,
Yeah.
but you do see how he's in charge. So all that worked for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Vader is on the screen a lot, and it is awesome. Everyone loves Darth Vader, so the more Vader you can get, the better. I mean, we like Darth Vader. Let's get into what didn't work in Empire Strikes Back. For me, it's really just the fact that it's not as grandiose and epic as the finale of A New Hope, but it is the middle story, so it just kind of puts the other two together. It is a fantastic film, but it's just in the middle, so it's like the middle child. Although I do think this is a better film than A New Hope, it doesn't really have the huge moment that I really wish that it had. And that's about it for me.
Okay. I had a few things that didn't work. One of the things that didn't work for me is very similar to what you said. There's no huge win at the end of this. The other Star Wars, you have some huge victory or some huge win. This one kind of ends on a cliffhanger with the rebellion kind of reeling from their losses. But on the same page, the Empire doesn't really have a huge victory either. So it's just kind of a middle chapter, like you said.
Middle of the road things, right? No one's really gaining any ground here.
So that part didn't really work for me. It wasn't a huge deal knowing that there's another Star Wars film to watch after this one.
Yeah.
It doesn't kill it. The other thing that didn't work for me, I also borrow from one of the things that did work for me. So when Luke's training with Yoda on Dagobah, there's a sort of parallel timeline with Han and Leia on the run.
Yeah.
And it feels a little odd because the training scenes almost feel like they take place over a few days or even longer, like a couple weeks. You have multiple lessons, some failures. Meanwhile, the parallel timeline going on with Han and Leia on the run seems like it's only really one day. So it feels a little confusing there.
Yeah, I could see that.
And it was enough for me to just sit back and wonder like, did Luke train in one day or was Han and Leia on the run for a month? So that part didn't really work for me either. And that's it.
Well, let's get to our standout moment. And for me, this is going to be probably both of ours if I had to guess, just because this is kind of the only huge moment of the film. The standout moment is Luke versus Vader for me. I think Luke just finishing, not even finishing training, just getting some training with Yoda and Obi-Wan's Force Ghost. And he goes and confronts Vader to save his friends, even though Obi-Wan's Force Ghost, he's like, if you care about them, you'll let them die to the Empire. They would understand that you need to complete your training. He's like, no, I don't think so. I'm going to go save them. And I think he had the right call. I think Obi-Wan maybe stuck in his old ways or something with the old Jedi Council from the prequels. No, he had to go save his friends, and I'm glad he did. But yeah, the Vader fight, man, Vader just, again, you see him like in Rogue One at the end sequence, one hand. And he's just like, I don't need to use any more than one hand to take you. And Luke is keeping up with him, but Vader's also not using everything he's got. So very, very cool sequence. And then you get some more of the Attack of the Clones, Dooku and Yoda throwing stuff off the walls while Vader's throwing stuff off the walls at Luke, and Luke's getting smashed by him. At least when Vader did it, he was hitting Luke and it was hurting him.
It looked much better.
It looks better, which is hilarious because it's way older. Epic fight, and Vader, uses some sneaky tactics and, gets away from Luke and then encounters him again in a bad spot. And then they end up on the catwalk. And then that's when I noticed Vader's using two hands on the catwalk. He's like, I'm going to win this fight right now. And he does. And something cool about this is if you notice in Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin fights Dooku, he uses this really cool move to cut off Dooku's hands. It's the same move almost to a T when Vader takes off Luke's hand. I thought that was interesting. I was like, wow, I don't know if they meant to do that or if that's like actually just a coincidence, but it was awesome. And, he defeats Luke. He's like, you are beaten. That's so cool. And then that's when the famous line happens when Luke's beaten. He's like, Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. He's like, he told me enough. He told me you killed him. And then the famous, no, I am your father, which for some reason everyone thinks is Luke, I am your father. No, it's no, I am your father. But epic sequence. And then another thing that makes me laugh every time is Vader's so stoked and pumped at that moment that when he grips his leather glove, you can hear it crinkling in the film. He grips it so tight. He's like, the Emperor can be taken down. He has foreseen it. Super awesome. Luke's like, join join you and rule the galaxy. No, let's jump down this shaft.
Yep.
That's the most standout moment for me is the Luke vs. Vader fight's awesome.
Yeah, you were right. This was my standout moment also. I think it would be most people's standout moment in this film. You pretty much touched every point that I would have made. I will say that for the most part, the Jedis are trained to kind of suppress their emotions during a fight. So when Vader does say, "I am your father," it brings some emotion to the fight.
Yeah.
Luke shows some emotion. He's confused. He's in disbelief. And so that part was cool, and it was a standout.
All right, well, let's get to our final score of Empire Strikes Back. So, for me, this is a very epic Star Wars film. It's one of the best ones to me, even though it is a middle one with no epic scenario, really. Besides the Luke and Vader fight, it is really good. Nothing really takes this movie down for me, and I do like rewatching this one, but I will reserve this one. I will give this one a 4. I want to give it a 5, but at the same time, it doesn't hit it quite. So I'm gonna keep it at a 4.
So for my score for this movie, might be a surprise, but I'm just going to give it a 3. It's a good movie. If you were to watch this without watching any other Star Wars movie, it wouldn't stand out really in almost any way. So for that reason, I would just give it a 3.
Okay, well, 4 and a 3 is a 7, so it's above average. It's a pretty good film. All right, well, that's been our review of Empire Strikes Back. And if you're seeing this, that means you can go watch Return of the Jedi as well. Watch all 3 of them. And thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments if you enjoyed this review and what your favorite moments of Star Wars and your favorite Star Wars film is, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching, everyone. We hope you enjoyed our review of this movie. Let us know in the comments, what did you think of the movie? Drop your score on our 1 to 5 scale and tell us if you agree or disagree with our take. Also, if you have a movie suggestion, go ahead and put it in the comments. We read every comment. We love getting the community's ideas. If you're new here, please subscribe. It helps us out a lot. Turn on the notifications, hit the bell, and don't miss our next No BS short review. Thanks again for hanging out with the S2S Film Bros, and we'll see you next time.